for the people. Know what it's doing. The 50th anniversary of Communist China. The government there seems nervous about being in charge, and the celebration reflects it. Technology not on the cutting edge tonight, not just nostalgia, but useful. And the discovery that changed the world forever. It divided the century in half.
From ABC News World Headquarters in New York, this is World News Tonight with Peter Jennings.
Good evening. We're going to begin in Japan tonight, where thousands and thousands of people are quite desperate to know, were they exposed to radiation as the result of yesterday's nuclear accident? And can their government be trusted to tell them the truth? The Japanese government told more than 300,000 people today that the danger has passed. But they also said, don't drink the water. ABC's Mark Litke reports on the tragedy at Tokaimura.
It was an eerie, frightening day for the people of Tokaimura. Their town sealed off by men in protective suits, entire families forced to undergo Geiger counter checks for radiation. Most were stoic, but worried sick. The government told residents they can go outside again, that the air is clear, the food supply in the area safe, but many are not convinced. They told us this was a safe place to live, says this dairy farmer. Now I'm really scared. So scared of radioactive contamination, he dumped all his milk. Over several hours today, teams of nuclear technicians in their protective gear, working in 3-minute shifts to limit their exposure to the deadly radiation, managed to stop the nuclear reaction by removing the cooling water that keeps reactions going. But the plant remains sealed off, and the explanations emerging are not reassuring. Today, plant officials admitted the accident happened because their workers violated safety standards. And the government acknowledged that it added to the crisis by responding too slowly. I deeply apologize for our failure, says a government spokesman, and for causing such confusion. The apology rings hollow for many here. Japan's nuclear facilities have had a string of accidents recently, 8 in the past 5 years.
Pathetic. The Japanese government doesn't understand nuclear safety, and yet it operates one of the largest nuclear programs in the world.
Because of a history of safety violations and cover-ups at nuclear facilities here, many in Japan expect more revelations in the days ahead, and perhaps more frightening news about the long-term effects of this accident. It isn't so much a fear of nuclear plants, but a deep mistrust of the people who run them and the government that regulates them. Mark Litke, ABC News, Tokyo.
Still in Asia, in Thailand today, gunmen are holding as many as 30 people hostage in the embassy of Myanmar, which used to be called Burma. The hostage holders are trying to force the military rulers in Myanmar to release hundreds of political prisoners, including several foreigners. The opposition to the generals has been largely non-violent, but they may now be adopting the generals' own violent tactics. In Beijing today, more than 500,000 soldiers and civilians paraded through the city streets. This was China's way of marking the 50th anniversary of its communist revolution. One observer said today nostalgia and amnesia were on display. ABC's Deborah Wong reports from Beijing.
It was in part an enormous display of military might. Miles of goose-stepping soldiers marching in perfect formation past Beijing's Tiananmen Square. Row after row of tanks, artillery pieces, and long-range missiles capable of reaching Alaska and Hawaii, and brand new fighter planes screaming overhead. And it was in part one big history lesson. Extravagant floats told the Communist Party's version of its 50 years in power in the party's own peculiar style, highlighting the wonders of steel production, an ample food supply, and the pleasures of family planning. China's leaders watched from the spot where Mao Zedong declared the founding of the People's Republic 50 years ago. Under the leadership of the Communist Party, declared President Jiang Zemin, the people of China have worked wonders on this ancient Chinese land. The government spent tens of millions of dollars putting on this lavish display, and it took extraordinary measures to ensure that no ordinary citizens were allowed anywhere near it. The Chinese went so far as to remove beggars and the homeless from the streets. They sent thousands of migrant laborers back to the countryside, and today they put the center of the city under virtual martial law, all to ensure that nothing disrupted the Communist Party's big day. People had to watch the parade on television or from a great distance. There was no mention today of the turbulent times, the famines and political upheavals, the decade-long disaster of the Cultural Revolution. For me, the last 20 years has been a happy time, this woman says. It has made me forget the unhappiness that came before. And that may be the main message of this day. For all the turbulence, China has come a long way from the desperately poor nation it was 50 years ago. Deborah Wong, ABC News, Beijing.
One other note about China on the money today. The Chinese government has unilaterally told more than a dozen multinational telephone companies they will not share any profits from a $1.4 billion investment. The companies had set up joint ventures with the Chinese phone company Unicom to skirt the laws against foreign investment. The Chinese government says now the deals are irregular, which means the Chinese keep the profits. Also on the money, Hewlett-Packard, the computer maker, said today it expects sales to be down because of the earthquake in Taiwan. Taiwan manufactures an enormous amount of computer components. Production, as we've said before, was interrupted by the earthquake. On Wall Street today, the Dow Jones Industrial Average was down just under 64 points to close at 10,273. On the NASDAQ, stocks were down more than 9 points. By the way, the average stock has now fallen 20% from its high. In the quarter which ended yesterday, the average mutual fund was down more than 6%. When we come back, some of the day's other news. Should race be a factor in college admissions? One major university takes a stand. California's governor is a big supporter of gun control. So why has he just vetoed 3 gun control laws?
This is World News Tonight with Peter Jennings. Brought to you by Aetna.
28 different children from 28 different families with 28 different futures whose parents all share the need for help making informed decisions on what matters most: their health, their finances, their future. One name, Aetna, for what matters most.
I should have used Preparation H. Cool it fast. Introducing Preparation H Cooling Gel. Cools on contact for fast relief. New Preparation H Cooling Gel cools on contact.
When dentures dream, they see the perfect denture cleanser. One with the stain-fighting power of Efferdent and the freshening power of Listerine. Well, little friend, dream no more. It's really here. It's called Efferdent Plus. It's extra fresh, and nothing gets your dentures cleaner. Efferdent Clean and Listerine Fresh. That's Efferdent Plus.
Great, you brought wine.
No, it's not wine, but go ahead and...
Salad dressing. You brought salad dressing to a party, Frank?
It's not ordinary dressing.
You don't like my wife's salad dressing?
I love her dressing, but, you know, this lowers your cholesterol.
Frank, you're the life of the party.
New Benecol reduces bad cholesterol up to 14% and starts to work in just 2 weeks.
Anyone want to try Frank's dressing? It lowers your cholesterol.
I'll try some of that. Yeah, see?
Benecol Foods, 3 servings a day, a delicious way to reduce cholesterol.
I told him to bring it, the stuff. Right, Frank?
I've meditated for 3 months.
Yes, Master.
What have you learned?
Nobody in the world sells more real estate than RE/MAX.
RE/MAX helped us find this place, you know.
Cool.
RE/MAX, the real estate leaders.
Other news today, Minnesota Governor Jesse Ventura's interview with Playboy magazine has caused some dissent within the Reform Party that he represents. The current party chairman says that Governor Ventura's brought disgrace on its members and he should leave the party. The governor, among other things, called organized religion a crutch for weak-minded people. Mr. Ventura is unlikely to resign. The chairman that he picked, a Ventura man, takes over the party in January. In Michigan today, for the first time in the country, people who apply for welfare will be required to take a drug test. Michigan is the first state to do this. It's only in 4 counties so far, but those who test positive will gradually lose their benefits if they refuse to get treatment. The American Civil Liberties Union says that a test amounts to an illegal search, but the state says it's a way to get people ready for the job market. In Georgia today, taking a stand for affirmative action. There's been, as you may know, a vigorous legal campaign against affirmative action in several parts of the country, including Georgia. And several courts have come very close to saying that using race as a factor in college admissions is unconstitutional. But at the University of Georgia, they're still holding out. ABC's Rebecca Chase reports from Atlanta.
For nearly a decade, the University of Georgia has considered race a factor in admitting students. In July, a federal judge said the university cannot constitutionally justify the policy. But the university president says the policy will stay because it is the best way to achieve diversity.
I do believe this course of action to be a responsible one. We cannot know what the legal outcome will be, but we do want to do the right thing.
Currently, 80 to 90% of students are admitted strictly on their academic records. For the rest, a point system is used in which students get fractions of points to reward things such as extracurricular activities or compensate for parents who do not have college educations. But the biggest factor, half a point, is given if you are black.
If it were not for affirmative action, I would not be here.
But some white students have sued, claiming the policy kept them out.
I had a great GPA. I had a great SAT. I didn't understand what's going on.
Even with the current admissions policy, which considers race, only 6% of the freshman class is black, compared with 30% in the state population. The lawyer for the white plaintiffs argues that taking race into account is not increasing diversity and that recent court rulings are on his side.
All the federal courts that have dealt with this issue have found that the use of race to segregate out a certain sector of the seats for blacks is unconstitutional.
The university's own lawyer, the state attorney general, has issued a statement saying that the university's case will be difficult to defend and that its chances of prevailing are slim. Rebecca Chase, ABC News, Atlanta.
In California today, Governor Gray Davis has vetoed 3 new gun control laws. The governor's been very vigorous in favor of gun control legislation until now, so this is something of a confusing decision. Here's ABC's Brian Rooney.
California's governor portrays himself as tough on guns, having signed some of the most restrictive gun control laws in the country. Now, in vetoing 3 bills, Gray Davis said it's time to slow down and give law enforcement a chance to absorb what's already passed, such as the assault weapons bill.
It's 40 pages long. It's very complex. Many of us have read it and really don't understand it, and I think the governor is saying, let's step back a minute.
It may sound as if Governor Davis has borrowed a page from the National Rifle Association and forced the laws already on the books, but it is more complicated than that. One bill that may come up in the legislature would require licensing of all gun owners. Some people believe that in vetoing 3 gun bills, California's governor is signaling to legitimate gun owners that he knows the licensing bill will not be popular with them.
When the public understands the details of what the politicians mean about gun control, they reject it 2 to 1.
It's a similar story in Colorado. The Republican House leader said he's trying to find a way, in the wake of the Columbine High School shooting, to pass gun laws that will not hurt the majority of gun owners.
We want to make sure that everything we're doing is geared to protect the rights of law-abiding citizens, but making sure that guns stay out of the wrong hands, and that's felons and juveniles.
Across the country, the rush to more gun control laws may be slowing down, while politicians try to figure out what the majority of Americans are saying when they say they want gun control. Brian Rooney, ABC News, Los Angeles.
One other note from California, another struggling hospital, in this case the only one in Gilroy, California, has been saved from closing by a Catholic health system. Catholic systems have been buying up hospitals in various parts of the country. The hospitals often become more efficient. They also ban abortions, fertility treatments, and anything that contributes to birth control. When we come back, far from the cutting edge and thriving.
We're picking up our CEO.
Fortunately, the company cars have OnStar.
We swerved off the road and boom, the airbags go off.
There was a deer.
I never saw it.
Seconds later, an OnStar advisor calls and says, I just got a signal, your airbags went off, should I send an ambulance?
We were fine, but she called for a tow truck and a limo.
Good thing I called OnStar.
OnStar called us.
Oh, right.
The one-touch connection to people who can help.
OnStar.
Call 1-800-OnStar-7.
Allergies knocking you flat? Try non-drowsy Allegra. Only Allegra has fexofenadine. For people 12 and over, ask your doctor or pharmacist for more information. Side effects are low and may include drowsiness, cold or flu, nausea, or menstrual pain. Allegra, so you can enjoy the world around you.
I'm not really close to Anna Kournikova. First of all, there's that whole language thing.
A PE ratio is price divided by earnings.
Earnings per share is a company's net income minus preferred dividends.
It's like she's speaking a different language.
Can anyone say asset allocation? Mid cap, small cap.
When we created a smarter kind of investment firm,
growth fund.
We created a smarter kind of investor.
Besides, some of the other players are kind of jealous of her, portfolio.
Oh, yeah, those first ice boats had a lot of speed, but not a whole lot of control. Yeah, with the blades setting early, couldn't steer around the ice fishing holes. Oh, geez, learned the hard way. Wider is better.
With its speed-sensitive steering technology, the White Track Grand Prix gives you precise cornering and control, even at a good clip.
You betcha. Better, better.
Wider is better. The White Track Grand Prix by Pontiac.
We were rather pleased to read in the Wall Street Journal today that the fastest-selling electronic gizmo in the country at the moment is the walkie-talkie. Not the really old-fashioned ones, of course, though we do see them fairly often. But it was nice to know that some of the older products hang on. Until Ned Potter filed this story, we actually thought the typewriter was a goner.
New York is the hub of the American economy.
40,000.
This place runs on computers and email and laser printers. But just across the East River in Brooklyn is a place where they still value this. People still use the typewriter with its keys that strike a ribbon.
There's very few machines that are currently being made that use this type of a ribbon.
But people are still buying the ribbons.
But people are still buying ribbons because they have not discarded their old machine.
Victor Barreau is the founder and patriarch to everyone who works at the Correct Type Company.
Very good.
One of the few places in America where they still make typewriter ribbons and carbon paper and correcting tabs.
We still get orders for that. Get a lot of orders for that. It's crazy.
It may seem crazy at first. Typewriters have been replaced by computers, right? But think for a moment. The railroads still roll along, even if the airlines have stolen most of their thunder. Television changed the world, but it never did wipe out radio.
It's not just a computer now.
Call it, if you will, the persistence of technology. Just about every typewriter and printer in this room was discontinued 10 or 15 years ago. But every single one of them is owned by somebody out there, and every single one still needs an ink ribbon. We've seen this time and again. A gleaming new technology will come along, but it simply cannot do everything the old machines did. Carbon copy forms and mailing labels are a real pain on a laser printer.
As long as the typewriter has some value, why actually chuck it out? Why turn off and refuse to listen to the radio just because you have a television?
So bang away at your old Underwood. It'll always need a ribbon.
And I'm going to be around making it.
For all the talk of cutting-edge technology, there will always be a need for a trailing edge, too. Ned Potter, ABC News, Brooklyn, New York.
In North Carolina today, it would have been too glib to say TGIF, but there was a sense of relief in the eastern part of the state today that more rain and another flood didn't materialize, as many people had feared. But even though the sun was out, some rivers have yet to crest, and 14 sewage treatment plants and 50 huge pits of hog waste are still underwater. When we come back, the discovery that changed the world forever.
I think the most important feeding is the one that you start in the fall, so your lawn starts to look healthier in the spring, and consequently, you need Scott's Winterizer. When I put down Winterizer in the fall, it allows us to develop a good, strong root base, and it allows the lawn to endure the winter weather, and you get a real early greening. This grass is beautiful, thick, deep green. People will stop by and say, how'd you do that? Scott's Winterizer gives the grass a kickstart in the fall and makes it really look great in the spring.
I work out to keep my body in shape. To help keep my mind sharp, I take Quanterra Ginkgo biloba. It helps me concentrate, maintain focus. Why Quanterra? All ginkgos aren't the same. The patented Quanterra extract was proven safe and effective by doctors in extensive clinical trials. And it increases oxygen supply to the brain. With Quanterra mental sharpness, I feel my best, naturally.
Now, save on Quanterra Herbals. Look for your money-saving coupon and refund in Sunday's paper.
Rumors about free computers, but we haven't actually seen one. Not one with a monitor, a year of internet, 24-hour tech support, and a printer. Like a Gateway Essential PC with an Intel Celeron processor. Call us. For $28 a month, it's a PC you can believe in.
If it's real chicken your dog wants, it's Prime you want. Because high-quality chicken is the primary ingredient in Pedigree Prime. Dry dog food has finally reached its prime.
Will you look at that? They changed the Camry.
Introducing the newly updated Camry.
I like it.
Try new Genuine Bear Gel Caps, the only gel cap that can help save your life. New Bear Gel Caps, powerful pain relief, and so much more.
Tonight, the terror that transfixed the nation. They were left for dead. Now they talk about what haunts them from that fatal day.
So you see your best friend, Sean, and you're lying there also shot, and what'd you do?
A Barbara Walters exclusive, 2020, tonight.
Coming up next, it's a race against time. See why wildlife officials are struggling to rescue an orphaned orca whale. Plus, 6 months ago, he was living in his car and selling blood to support his family. Wait till you see him now. I'm Steve Dunn. Local news is coming up next.
We are often asked by people who are taking stock of the century what we think was the most important development in the last 100 years. We tend to seek refuge by answering that there was so much, which is true. But we are reminded by events in Japan today and yesterday that the century can certainly be divided dramatically into before and after the atom, before and after the bomb. Tonight, the atom.
3, 2, 1, fire.
It is without a doubt the greatest and most fearful scientific discovery of the 20th century.
The general view was that no one would ever live to see nuclear energy. That was just totally impossible.
But it was possible. In 1938, chemists in Nazi Germany split the atom, and scientists who'd fled Europe, Albert Einstein and Leo Szilard among them, were terrified that Hitler was working on an atomic bomb.
It was clear there could be an explosive of power far beyond anything that had previously been seen.
The race for the bomb did not begin in earnest until the United States entered World War II in 1941. In a secret laboratory beneath the University of Chicago, physicists Leo Szilard and Enrico Fermi split the atom in a process called fission and provoked a chain reaction to other atoms around it. It produced a vast release of energy.
The way was very clear from fission to a power reactor and a bomb, and I think people understood that right from the start.
Hundreds of America's top scientists were brought into what was called the Manhattan Project. Their average age was 25. Within a year, 100,000 Americans were trying to build an atomic weapon before the Germans did. Hitler, it turned out, never understood the potential and would not give his scientists the resources to finish their research. The American atomic bomb was tested at a secret facility in the New Mexico desert in 1945. The Germans had already surrendered, but the Japanese had not. Robert Oppenheimer, who led the Manhattan Project, witnessed the explosion.
I remembered the line from the Hindu scripture, "Now I am become death, the destroyer of worlds."
The bomb was used shortly afterwards, August the 6th, 1945, against Japan.
The entire town of Hiroshima was burning. I've seen 500, 600 people, just burn.
One more bomb on Nagasaki, and the Japanese surrendered. At first, there was euphoria. American science had prevailed. The public became enchanted with the possibilities of peaceful atomic energy. General Mills put an atomic ring on the back of its cereal boxes. Bars served atomic cocktails.
We were all going to have little fission generators in our backyards. We were going to have energy that was so cheap that it would be virtually free.
But instead, science and the world would take steps deeper and deeper into the darkness. In 1949, when the Soviets added atomic weapons to their arsenal. In 1952, with the birth of even more destructive hydrogen weapons. An arms race followed, and in 1962, the Cuban Missile Crisis brought the world to the brink of nuclear war. Nuclear power has been a mixed blessing for an energy-hungry world. In March 1979, the accident at 3 Mile Island in Pennsylvania. In 1986, the release of radiation at Chernobyl in the Ukraine. Analysts blame Chernobyl for the deaths of 6,500 people so far. And this week, Japan. Another example of the unsettling legacy to man's most dramatic discovery. The decision to drop the atomic bomb on Japan has been one of the most controversial subjects of the century. On our website, thecentury.com, we look at it from several different perspectives, that of the scientists, the soldiers, and civilians. That is our report on World News Tonight. On Nightline this evening, we're going to begin a series called Bio-War. It's a simulation of what they think might happen in an American city if terrorists attacked using biological weapons. I'm Peter Jennings. Have a safe weekend. Good night.
Sunday on This Week with Sam Donaldson and Cokie Roberts.
Is this art? Mayor Giuliani says no, it's offensive. His first interview, ABC, Sunday.
This has been a presentation of ABC News. More Americans get their news from ABC's World News Tonight with Peter Jennings than from any other nightly news.
The